So, in our research of over 50 years of business cases, what we found uh, almost unerringly is that leadership sets the tone, both in positive responses and in defensive responses or outright negative responses. So Tylenol's example is really fantastic because, again, as often happens with transgressions, they just spring on you, right? It's completely out of the blue. Nobody knows that it's coming. And so there was news in Chicago that there were 7 deaths. And it was somehow identified that it was related to Tylenol consumption. And this was in 1980. So at that time, there was no social media, but this was a huge crisis for Tylenol. And Tylenol had about, I believe, 40% of the market share. It was in everybody's home. It was the standard analgesic that people consumed when they had a headache, right? And so, and the pundit said that no matter what happens, this is the death of Tylenol. Nobody will ever put another Tylenol in their mouth, right? Because it was so serious. So what did the CEO at that time, James Burke, do? So he said, how must we protect the customer first? And second, how must we protect the brand? Now, he's not likely to have a lot of support for that amongst his C-suite at that time, because nobody knew why. And so they said, like, are we taking accountability too soon, maybe, right? We don't even know if it's our fault. But it was this point that we talk about taking accountability, even though we don't know what happened, somebody consumed our product and died. We have to own that. Right? So he went at that time, very unusual. I think even today it is. He went on national television multiple times and apologized. And then he said, please do not consume our product till we work with the authorities and get to the bottom of it. And they, of course, were transparent with the regulators, and they said, come check our manufacturing facilities, our supply chain, everything. And they set up 24/7 hotlines where live human beings were responding to concerned consumers. They were giving refunds on used Tylenol bottles. And they had a 1-800 number set up where they had daily, multiple times a day, updates on whatever new discoveries that were happening for the media. They even wrote letters to doctors and hospitals saying, don't give Tylenol or prescribe Tylenol to anyone. So this was a very unusual and maybe even shocking to some response, right? For a brand of this eminence to say, don't consume our product. Now, unfortunately, there was another incident that happened in California a couple of months later. I can't remember if anyone died, but they knew that somebody had consumed. And what they discovered was that somebody tampered with the Tylenol bottle and took out the Tylenol and replaced it with cyanide capsules, which is what killed the people who consumed it. So when this happened in California, the CEO again took the decision, stopped all advertising, stopped sales, removed all Tylenol from shelves nationwide because they couldn't risk another death. So this is another principle of ours, right? Treat each life with dignity. It's not that, oh, these are unnamed people, who bought a Tylenol off a grocery store somewhere, but that life is valuable and we do not want any other life to be jeopardized. And so this level of transparency, this level of accountability, this level of ownership is why it's like our flagship example of our first principle, which is do the right thing.
Yeah.
And because they took this position, actually, consumers viewed them as victims of malicious attack rather than perpetrators of a poor product or improper manufacturing or something like that. And then, even better, the government in the United States actually, within 2 weeks, passed a law saying that pharmaceutical companies need to create tamper-resistant packaging. Now, this would come at a huge cost because you would have to change how you package your products, right? And Tylenol came up with a tamper-resistant packaging within 2 weeks. And that packaging is widespread in pharmaceutical companies today. So Shalini mentioned restitution, right? So of course they took care of customers who were suffering. They might, but what did they do to assure us that such a problem would not happen again? So that's why, in our understanding, it's a gold standard.